Is anyone here familiar with the Land Expropriation Without Compensation Act? And am I the only one who initially saw it as the government's way of messing with South Africans once again? Welcome. I am Martin, your humble YouTuber. Because the way I see it, this is basically the government's way of legally but forcefully acquiring land without having to pay a cent. That's literally what it seems. It's literally what it looks like. You know what I mean? What is the Expropriation Act 13 of 2024? The act replaced the old Expropriation Act 63 of 1975. Section 2 of the act states that property may be expropriated only in terms of a law of general application. So if it's basically for public interests, or if it's not being used, I guess, and of course subject to compensation. There's a lot that's happening. I'm trying to just paraphrase it. The amount of which must be just or equitable, which is in this case, or at least what I've seen or read about, 0 rand. This doesn't make sense. Section 13 identifies certain instances where nil compensation may be just and equitable. Isn't every instance going to be treated as such though? I mean, I've been on the internet for a while and I've seen these videos, and it literally seems like this is a foreshadow of this claim or give back our land movement. This literally gives the impression that if it is deemed that the land was forcefully acquired during that era, then this law or act is going to apply. Maybe I'm not making sense. This literally seems like some sort of revenge or forceful acquisition of land that was owned by our ancestors. Note, however, that the law's definition of public interest includes land reform, equitable access to natural resources, etc., etc. But where or when has this even happened? When or where? In fact, where has the government claimed or expropriated land without compensation and literally transformed or reformed the land to benefit its citizens? Because I was under the impression that if the government is going to look at a piece of land, private land and regard it as land that is going to waste, basically, I was under the impression that the land was going to claim it without compensation, as they stated here, right? And sort of do something with it. You know, maybe, you know how some, for example, in this instance, or what I've seen, what I'm close to, informal settlements, right? Or maybe build hospitals, clinics, roads. I think I also read somewhere that even though the law has been signed by your president, it's not in effect yet. And I think there's a whole timeline, but something is going to happen in 2026. I didn't read through or read too much into it. But my final question here is, who is actually going to benefit from this act? Because it's obviously not going to be South Africans. What I'm literally seeing here, what we've been seeing and witnessing, because apparently this thing is it dates back to like 2018. Who's gonna benefit from this thing? Because I've also, like, bro, I've been so much on the internet, but I've heard somewhere where this family claimed that the land, you know what I'm talking about, was, you know, during apartheid and stuff, but the government claimed that they got back the land, but the government didn't give the land back to its rightful owners. So I'm under the impression that the government is gonna use it for its, like, okay, I don't want to make any, like, I don't want to come with my theories or anything, right? But this is literally a foreshadow. According to the law and expert commentary, land can result in nil compensation when the land has been abandoned or unused for a long period. When state-owned land is lying idle. And I think what I also found interesting, or what I've witnessed, is how, like I said before, how land is idle and is turned into an informal settlement and allowed by the government. But here's one that is very, very interesting and very, very sus. I don't care what you say. When land, or the land of the existing title acquisition was historically unjust. So basically, when the land was unjustly, in the past, during apartheid, acquired. They put it in your face. Yeah, I know this video is all over the place. I'm gonna, yeah, this video is all over the place, and that's because I didn't. It's almost like I saw through the lies. This is a whole lot of BS. Yeah, I'm still gonna do my research definitely into this. And it's funny because I also think I read a story about how they acquired a land, you know what I'm saying, a piece of land, I don't know, for 300 something million. It was crazy. It was a crazy amount. I don't know, 30 something. It was a crazy amount. And I haven't heard of any reforms or anything. I've never, like, is that even a thing? Does the government even do that? I don't know, bro. I don't know. But I think it's a whole lot of BS. I think it's a way of messing with South Africans again. Maybe I'm not understanding. What do you all think? Comment down below and tell me what you think, because this doesn't make sense to me. This doesn't make sense to me. And don't worry, be as rude as you want. So block your hairy ass. I'm joking. Comment what you think, guys. Educate me, because this doesn't make sense to me. This act doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense.
Man, what the fuck is you talking about?
What the fuck was that?
I'm sorry, man. I wasn't thinking about it.